Hey there! In this video, we're going to break down exactly how you can stop feeling stuck in your skiing. We'll introduce you to a 4-step process to continuous improvement using the same principles that have helped skiers from recreational to world class unlock their potential. Step by step, we'll show you how to identify your single most important movement, get feedback, and refine your technique. Stick around. It's all about making real progress on snow.
All right, and super excited today to sit down with Harald Harb because we wanted to unpack, I guess, the system that's hidden behind your system of helping skiers to get unstuck. So welcome, Harold.
Hello, everyone. Skiers
Yeah,
out
so
there.
so the reason why I said to Harold, I said, hey, can we catch up quickly and just maybe because there's a lot of skiers out there who, like myself and my ski buddies, we were ski racing and we kind of got into a plateau and we couldn't figure out how to unstuck ourselves in a sense, right? And I'd met you briefly and I said to the boys, I said, well, we should just hang out with Harold. And that was a long time ago. But Harold, you've been in the business of taking a skier and systematically improving them up to literally Olympic gold medal level athletes. So today we're going to look at your teaching system and some of the genius things that you've got behind it. We're going to uncover that for the skiers so they can see that there's a complete roadmap if you are feeling stuck with your skiing and you're getting mixed results and you're like, surely there's a better way. I'd like to suggest there's a better way. So Harold, do you want to talk about like how your system started after your racing career and your pro racing career, when you started working with athletes? Because these junior athletes, you worked with them for years. So can you break some of that down for us, please?
Well, it actually starts before that because, I had to evolve my own skiing to race at a reasonably high level internationally and professionally as well. And then, when I started, I was able to ski and train with some of the best skiers in the world, world champions, and side by side, same course, and I always was interested in technique from a young kid because my dad was an Austrian certified ski instructor, and I grew up skiing sort of with him, watching him, and so did a lot of people because he was an exceptional skier in his own right. When we were on any mountain, people would watch him ski. So as a kid, that's very motivating, and so you say, oh, well, if my dad can do it, why can't I do it? Kind of thing. So anyways, I learned a lot from all these world class skiers that I was able to train with, get to know, and some of them are still friends in many cases. And then when I started coaching, I was relying on what I picked up and what I learned, and then I had to evolve my own way of communicating. That it's one thing to know what the movements are or what the techniques are, but it's another way of getting motivation with people and skiers and juniors especially, and getting them to be excited about what you're about to tell them. That's a big part of it. And then I discovered that some of the things I was working on, I thought other coaches were using those things. I had not. I'd only coached with the people in our own ski program, which is at Stratton, where I started at the Stratton School as a head coach. I mean, the NORAM and FIS coach first year, I was like the top coach for the top racers because of my background, and a lot of the other coaches didn't have that background. I mean, they had local racing, but they didn't have international racing behind them. And then I thought all coaches kind of knew what I knew or what we knew or what we were coaching, but it turns out it wasn't that way. And there were some things that I developed to get my athletes to ski better and to build on their skiing. Some of them are real basic. They're still alive today. Stand on one ski, get all the way down the outside ski, make sure you're balanced with your upper body and all the, rudimentary stuff you would normally hear in a good coaching session. But then I started to realize I had to get more involved with the more intricacies of each individual's movement that was holding the biggest movement they were being held back by, right? That's an important thing to be able to recognize as a coach. And if you don't, you're just coaching shotgun stuff, like you heard something from some guy and you heard another guy over here do something else, but you really don't have a system. You haven't developed a real step by step. And then individualizing that thing is another whole level of depth as a coach that you need to have. And if you don't, you're not going to be nearly as effective as a coach. Because if I can take a skier and say that one movement is the one that's holding you back, the athlete doesn't have to think about 3 things or 4 things or 5 things. Let's get this one done. Let's get this one fixed. And then we'll move on. Because if you, like my program and my teaching system is based on 5 essentials. So, and the weakest one would be the one you work on first. So they all go up when the weakest one goes up. And then you find the next weakest one and you build on that one. And it's just perpetuating, it keeps going, keeps getting better and better and better. And, with racers, you don't fool anybody. They go through the finish line. There's a time goes up on a board, and everybody knows how fast you went, and you know whether it's working or not. Whereas in regular ski teaching, you can go down a rabbit hole like that gets you nowhere, and then it's actually worse because you're working on something that is detrimental to your movements instead of moving you forward with your movements. And that's why I developed a system based on the World Cup skier and what World Cup skiers were doing, because I'd seen them, I'd raced with them, I'd watched what works, and then I watched thousands and thousands of ski racers, my own kids. And I was at Stratton, and then I ran a program in New Hampshire, and then I went to Alaska, ran a program there. And out of that program, I had kids who I was coaching that won the world championships, won a gold medal and a silver medal. These are and world junior champions and national champions at the same time. All of these kids moved on at very high levels. Now, all of them didn't. Not everyone has the talent that some of those people have, and that's understandable. But we were producing an amazing number of really successful athletes in our programs. So then I was able to work with a couple of World Cup level skiers, Austrians and even U.S. skiers, and change their skiing, even though they were on a national ski team, and they were competing at the World Cup level, and giving them like a SMIM, which is the single most important movement to work on. In fact, I remember working with my friend Crawford Pierce, who was coaching the B team in the U.S., and he brought his kids to Winter Park when I was there, and they were training the day before, and I was watching them. He invited me to come over and watch and say, "Hey, how are these guys doing?" And I said, Casey Puckett here, he's stepping to the big toe edge. Why don't you have him release with the old stance ski? And he did. He won the race the next day, and he wasn't having a great year up to that point. And Crawford was like blown away. And one day he totally reversed his results, and that's fact. So when you work with recreational skiers, people who have gone down a rabbit hole for so many years, go in the wrong direction with their movements, and really, ski teaching by traditional methods will get you down the wrong movements because you're focusing on the wrong side of your body, and you're focusing on the wrong ski to put on edge, and you're focusing on the wrong ski to start the turn with first. And just the idea of starting turns is a wrong approach in skiing. It's not about turning your skis. It's about using your skis to turn you. And if you start realizing that the skis are supposed to turn you because you paid $1,000 for them, right? They should be doing something for you. And whereas if you're turning your skis, they're more or less on a flat surface to the very end of the turn, and then you slam them on edge. You're not using $1,000 worth. You're using $300, or maybe not even that much, because you're not using the way it's designed. You're not using the product the way it was meant to be used. So that's where we've come. I have a complete system from beginners to experts to world-class skiers, and we know how to pick out of that each segment for whatever your needs are and whatever your SMIM is, as we talked about.
Yeah, and you told a great story in that on your junior programs, that whilst you were setting the courses for the kids to train, they were out working on their swims, weren't they? And so even though you were setting courses and the other coaches were setting courses, you were watching your junior athletes ski down. Can you explain that system? Because this will start to bring it into regular skiers as well.
Well, you're not doing anybody any favors if you're to your ski racers, especially if they don't know what to work on. They're not practicing what to work on while they're not in the race course. Because if they don't fix it outside the race course, they're going to use whatever they have to the maximum ability, their ability to make whatever they're using already as movements to go as fast as they can. Now, if the movements are detrimental and wrong, then you're just banging your head against the wall and you're staying at the same level and you're not moving up or forward. And, you know, talented racers, even if they're not getting the right coaching, they're still figuring something out and they're always moving forward. They're always moving ahead. And so you have to be smarter. You have to figure out ways to shortcut the time that it takes to develop. And I was always looking for that. There was no, I developed some new things in skiing and ski coaching that I now use with the public because it works with the public recreational skier, intermediates, advanced skiers, expert skiers. I coach all the way up to expert skiers. I coach ski instructors and the highest level in that profession. So it's working and it works beautifully, and we see the changes immediately. And we see it in our campers and in our Harb ski system campers, the amount of progress. And we're developing expert skiers out of our campers, which is great to watch. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, so for me it was just a breath of fresh air because once I met you and you explained the system, I'm like, oh, I've got a roadmap now, and then it's up to, when you're skiing with a coach, they're handing you the sim, but over time you can start to become your own coach because you can work out what's missing and then you can work on your sim. When you were I love the part of the story when you're talking about the junior races in that you were watching them, and then if they weren't working and improving their sim, what would happen to them?
Yeah, they would be skiing down on the race field beside where we were setting the race course, and they all had a specific movement to work on, and all the coaches knew what that athlete had as a SMIM. So if they weren't working on the exercise or the specific movement on the side while they were warming up, they weren't getting in the race course. They just, because if you're coming back to the race course without having figured out something to do with your new movement, you're just not going to use it. You're going to go back and you're going to regress it all over again. And we couldn't have that. We saw the benefits of doing that every day. And when you do that every day, and after race training, we would go out and ski with the kids just to reinforce those movements and strengthen their understanding of them. And then next day they came out for another training day and they did the exercises that they needed even better than they did them the day before. We're going on and on with that program, and it had huge benefits. I mean, there were other things we were doing as well. I mean, I did reverse course setting often. Reverse course setting is you pick the easy part of the hill to set the course first, and then if they're doing what they need to be doing with their new movements, learning, I added another gate higher up on the steeper section. And if they were still able to maintain and keep it going there, I added another gate at the top, not at the bottom. So they'd hike up or take the lift and go up higher and higher. And every time I put them up higher, they start at a more difficult place on the slope where it was steeper and icier. And they had to maintain the same quality of skiing. And if they didn't, I didn't move them up another level. So it was a really good motivator for the kids who were, there were different starting points for different kids. You can start here, you can start higher. And it gives the kids something to strive for. Plus, there's a little bit of competition going on between them and who's starting up on the highest part of the course. So that always adds something to it. But these are all techniques that good coaches use to keep the thing rolling, or else it gets sort of stagnant and sort of boring, maybe even at some point.
So the genius part for me was actually having one thing to work on when my mind goes, oh, so if I can fix this, And the next genius part of your system was that this was the single most important movement, of which if you get this
Yeah.
right, it also bumps up the others, like you said. And so you feel like you're progressing because you actually are progressing. So
Yeah.
you're not going
Yeah.
down so many rabbit holes, because it's very hard to figure skiing out on your own. And so that was great. And then with that sort of 25 years of race coaching experience, where you literally were helping kids to, we call it banking wins inside the academy, where they were banking wins every day, building their confidence, building their skills and ability, and building their performance on snow, and everything's measured so they know where they're at. They can see themselves against the other athletes. And so with that 25 years of experience, then you went across into regular ski teaching and you just brought the same system across.
Yeah, by then I had figured out a step-by-step program. I have a book on it's called the Instructor Manual for PMTS. That's my teaching system that I invented, and it's based on World Cup skiing. It's reverse engineered from the best skiers in the world's movements all the way down to where a beginner can access. And even at the most rudimentary level in ski boots, before you put skis on, the beginner skier is learning how to make world class World Cup skier type movements. And it doesn't matter, where what level you're at in our system, you're still going to be introduced at that level, the same movements, which are opposite to what is normally taught in regular ski school or traditional ski teaching systems. Exact
Yeah,
opposite.
yeah. And I think that was the real aha moment for me. It's like, oh, so I can learn the system that the best skiers in the world use, because they're the ones that are skiing in the harshest conditions, making round turns, and controlling their speed, which is exactly what I wanted to be able to do. Um, and and it's like, oh, you can build this from the ground up. And so and 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 so the other part to that is there's no there's no plateau here, because there's no limit, because it's the same system that repeats. Can you explain? Because you worked with these kids for 4, 5, 6 seasons, so it's not like you get to a point and you say, "Well, I can't help you anymore." Can
Well,
you
until
explain how
you
that works?
until you're the best skier in the world, and then you're doing things nobody knows yet that have been done before, except for Marcel Hirscher, who was 8-time overall World Cup globe winner. He had everything that we teach in PMTS already figured out, and I'd never coached him. So talk about validation. Here's a guy who's skiing exactly the way we teach skiing, and I'd never seen him ski before. I'd already written my books and evolved the system. And then here comes a guy along that I couldn't teach. I wouldn't teach any different or coach any different than what he's already doing based on what we evolved for PMTS. Now, which is very different from what you see on the internet. Okay. On the internet, you're going to see a lot of skiers who are good skiers. All right. And I'm not saying they're not good skiers. They're good skiers, but they give you tips, right? They give you a tip here, a tip there, and they really don't have a system. Whatever system they're using before they give you the tips is based on a traditional system. So they're really teaching their national system that they were trained to use, which is the same in every country. Now, some people will tell you, well, in Australia, we teach this, in America, we teach this, and in Austria, we teach this. So we're not really teaching the same. No. If you go to the biomechanics, which is the science of human movement with equipment attached to their bodies, if you start in a snowplow, start in a wedge, you start wedge turning, you start wedge christying, and you start steering your skis and trying to get on the big toe edge. All the systems do that. Every one of them. They may have different names for what they're doing, but they all teach the same biomechanics and it's the same movement system. Whereas ours is absolutely the opposite. We don't start with this. We don't start with a snowplow. We start parallel, and we start with the inside foot tipping instead of trying to turn the outside ski. And the whole system is built on that. So you never have to undo things in our system. You never unlearn something. Whatever you built on, the foundation, the next step is the foundation of the prior movement you just built. That's a
Yeah, we
huge
just
advantage. Huge.
yeah. And I found as a coach, because after I met you, then over time, I brought the boys across. We race trained with you, and then we turned into coaches for you. We trained and coached and delivered camp programs. And one of the best things about being a camp coach is I'd be skiing around on the green terrain or the light blue terrain, working on these elite movements, these expert movements on easy terrain at slow speeds. And then I'd go out and free ski. I'm like, I'm skiing better today because of the training. And can you explain how that works? Because it seems counterintuitive, but yeah.
Well, I even noticed it in my own skiing. So when I'm teaching a group for a week and I'm doing different exercises, I'm demonstrating those exercises and exaggerating them, beyond where I normally would use them, just so they could see what the movement is. Because a lot of movements in skiing are hidden. That's the other thing people don't understand, and ski instructors don't understand. A lot of what they're teaching isn't correct because they don't see the hidden movement within it. And when you watch a really good skier skiing down the hill and you don't see a lot of upper body, and they have a really quiet, organized, balanced upper body over the outside ski, they are moving to make it look like they're not moving, and that's what's hidden in skiing. And ski instruction and traditional methods haven't figured that out yet. They tell you to keep your body facing down the hill, keep your body quiet, don't move your upper body. No, if you do that, you're going to rotate with your skis. You have to know how to move the opposite way your skis do, so it looks like when you're watching the skier, they're not moving the upper body. And that's a big mystery for almost every ski instructor out there. They just haven't figured that out yet. And we've been doing that. We've been teaching the correct way to get that movement for 25, 30 years now.
And then fast forward to the academy that's almost a year old now, and people come into the academy, they're so excited to join because they're like, oh, you mean there's a complete end-to-end system? Yes. And then they start understanding the languaging and things like that, and they're like, where do I start? And I'm like, you start on a green slope with a onesie. Can you explain that? Because they're like, are you serious? But it's like, this is where we all go. Yeah. So can you explain how that works?
Well, I mean, if you break down regular ski instruction that you would get at a normal ski area and you watch what's going on, it's rather, how can I say this gently? It's time consuming and not very effective. That is the nice way of saying it, because the instruction method doesn't break down the SMIM exactly and then go deeper into where the SMIM would originate and build up from that. And then they watch people ski down towards them, and the skiers are making 10, 15 turns in a row or whatever, or they're following the ski instructor, which, the ski instructor is not even watching them. And when they do that and they ski down, skiers aren't used to remembering and even knowing what mistakes they're making as they ski down toward the ski instructor. Then the ski instructor says, oh yeah, I saw you do this. You were leaning in or something. And the student goes, what? Which one did I lean in on? When did I lean in? Or did I lean in on all of them? And by the time the student is down by the instructor and the instructor tells them what they're doing, they've forgotten what they've done, and they can't even relate to what they just did because they haven't had enough background training and understanding. So when we do, we've invented a number of ways to get around that. We have people make one turn in front of us. We call it the SMIM, which is the single most, not SMIM, but the onesie.
The onesie, yeah.
The one turn to a stop. And the stop tells you everything. And I can stand 3 feet away from the person who just stopped to make one turn, and I can give immediate feedback when they stop and freeze, or when they're in the turn. I can say, this is what happened to you. They can remember it because it's only one turn and one or two movements they're working on. And so immediately they have an access to changing. Whereas in the other methods, you can go a long time without even figuring out what you did on what turn.
Yeah,
that's just really one. That's just one example of things we use. We use other things on more, steeper and more challenging slopes, and we teach people how to remember their turns. That's really important, to know what you did in a turn, where you are in a turn, when did it happen in a turn. The breaking the different parts of the turn down so you know what to fix at the time it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a game within a game within a game. Because we'd be race training with you, and once we'd done our sort of 6 to 8 runs, you would that's it. We wouldn't train anymore, and then we'd go and we'd free ski, and often we'd be skiing like at slow speeds and doing these exercises. And often I'd think you were joking because you would show us something and then we'd be working on it, and where you could do it kind of easily because you had all the 5 essentials dialed in, because that's you you've been doing that for years, whereas we didn't have that skill set yet, and we were ex-instructors and we were decent skiers, but I didn't have any fine motor skills. I didn't have any of the things that we continuously teach or continue to teach. And so what would take you something simple, we'd just start drifting down the hill, and it's like, what the hell, right? But then over time, those exercises would become easier, and you'd be like, oh, I'm actually improving because I can do the exercises at slow speed. Because there's a lot of skiers out there that kind of use speed as their friend, and they just kind of bomb down the hill.
Yeah.
But that's not really expert skiing, is it? I mean,
No,
that's
no,
kind
it's
of,
not. It's not going to get you to expert skiing either.
yeah.
The thing is that once we use external cues so you can actually figure out what you're doing, so that there are cues that we use that can validate a movement that you're working on and whether you got it or not. So you internally you can figure out, oh, I did it, and the coach or instructor didn't have to tell me I did it because I felt it, and I knew that when I touched my knee or when I moved my inside hand rather than the outside hand, or when I tipped my inside foot rather than the outside foot, wow, that made a difference. And that's what we transform people that way all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had skiers who've said, I don't like to ski on groomers. I don't ski on groomers. I wait for the snow to come down and I go in the trees and I ski powder. I don't ski anywhere. It's boring. It's boring. Can you imagine people saying it is boring skiing on perfect groomers? Yeah, they do. They don't see any fun in it. Why? Because they don't know how to make a turn. They swivel their skis around and they go straight and then they throw them sideways. And when you teach them how you build turns and you build G-forces and you feel the fact that you're riding the ski through a whole arc, and the skis it's like you're in a roller coaster riding. You're not turning the roller coaster. You're just in it and you're along for the ride. You're going, woo, this is cool. And that's what happens with our way of skiing. The skis are turning you, so you're going, oh, this is really cool. Look how long I'm in the turn, and I can feel stable and balanced in the turn instead of twisting the skis and steering the skis to flat to an edge, and then going, hey, the turn's over. What did I just do? I can't even make any adjustments because it's over so fast. And that's so crucial. You can't. It's so hard to change your skiing with that approach, and that's what traditional skiing ends up building skiers that way. That's how they end up skiing. And we've done it on the academy, right? We've shown really high-end traditional skiers with the pushing the skis out to the side, rebounding, and then edge setting really hard. And you can see the inefficiency of it, especially when the upper body starts having to help because you don't put the skis on edge early enough in the turn, right? So even with the top-notch traditionally coached or taught and skiers who have followed that or pursued it in that manner, they're still not efficient at the highest level that they can achieve.
Yeah. And you seem to be able to get away with it younger, but over time, there's a real toll on the body, right?
No, that won't work after you're 50 or so. Even if you last till 50 with your knees doing that.
There's kind of two careers in skiing. There's the young career where you're just not really thinking a whole lot about it if you're not really into it. But then if you love the sport, you're like, oh, I better dial this up. And this is one of the reasons we're talking about. If you've plateaued, there is a completely efficient way to ski down the mountain where you're using gravity and turn shape to control your speed rather than pushy and choppy and wearing joints out unnecessarily.
Well, I really feel sorry for those kids who are like 18, 19 to 35, 40 on wide skis, and they don't know how to ski, and they go straight down and they throw them sideways and then they jam on the edge, and then sure, they're athletic, they're in the trees and they're in the bumps and they're skiing the steeps and everything and they're jumping around and doing all that stuff, but they never learned how to ski. And so they hate groomers. They just go straight and where they're groomers and try to avoid the other people on the slope, which you see every day on every hill, right? Close calls with these people just going straight down with wide skis, where even if they tried to change direction, they'd skid 60 feet before they even got a direction change, which is what you notice out there. And they're dodging people. And what happens when these people turn 50 or 60? They're not going to be able to do that anymore. Their back is going to be beat up. Their knees are going to be beat up. Their hips are going to be beat up. And what are they going to do? Are they going to stop skiing? Why wait until you're 60 to learn how to ski properly? This is the message to young folks who are watching this. Learn how to ski when you can learn faster because you're young and flexible, in your 30s, and then carry that on. And then you don't have to learn it when you're 60, or don't ski at all anymore when you're 60 because you think your joints and your back are so beat up and you can't ski anymore.
Yeah, I think everyone in the world who meets you, joins the academy or goes to camp, says, I wish I'd met Harald 20 years earlier. Right.
Yeah. I wish I'd started with PMTS, 20 years before, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all say that.
Yeah.
Everybody says that.
Yeah. It's consistent across and because I do all the onboarding calls in the academy and everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited, and I'm like, just, literally, digest, you're in the right place. We work on banking small wins continuously with getting your SMIM, and then you can work on your SMIM, and then over time you'll get these different breakthrough levels, and just let them know. But make sure when you post a free run, also post a onesie, because just in that onesie on a green slope, that tells Harald everything he needs to know about the SMIM, your alignment, your setup, everything.
Oh yeah. Your boots, your first movement, whether your legs are working, are they crooked, are you don't have the alignment right, or you're knock-kneed or bow-legged. These are all things that affect your skiing ability and learning ability and speed of learning ability. And we don't teach people with wrong alignment because we fix them right away at the beginning, right? So that's the other whole thing. If your alignment's off, if you go take a ski lesson at any well-known resort, I don't care where it is, and you get a ski instructor, he's not going to do anything for your alignment. He's going to try to teach you adaptive movements that you have to invoke to even get down the hill, and it's just not right. It's just never going to be right, and you're just going to go down a rabbit hole, and you're going to get frustrated. Whereas when we do it, we notice if it's a boot issue, and we can guide you to getting that boot issue taken care of, and then you're in balance on both skis. 95% of skiers are not in balance on one foot or the other because they have everyone thinks, well, I got 2 feet. They're the same. I got news for you. They're not the same. No 2 feet are the same on your own body. One may be more pronated, one be more supinated, one leg has more curve than the other. And so you stand even crooked. You're standing crooked on a pair of skis. You're standing crooked on a pair of ski boots when you're standing on our stand where we do the evaluations, right? And we know this from thousands and thousands. We've done over 20,000 evaluations. And the numbers I'm giving you, about 95% of people don't have the same feet on either side. and they don't have the same leg curvature on either side. So when you make one turn, it's different from the other turn until you fix the boots so that you can make them balance, the boots balance with your alignment. And then you can make turns with both feet going across at the same time with the same angles.
Yeah. And that's that whole level of efficiency that you developed, right? Race coaching the kids, because you developed that through the kids.
Well,
program.
Everybody wants to ski powder, right, Peter? Everybody wants to learn. And we just did a powder session and a super session in the academy. And what did people first notice about when I was showing my powder shots, my runs? There's never a moment where the skis are not doing the same angle, creating the same angle, or going through the same angles at the same time for connecting turns, right? That's the most obvious thing, and that's why it works and it looks easy. But if you're not aligned properly, and if you're starting with the wrong foot to tip on edge, your skis are going in different directions.
Yeah.
Not good.
And that was one of the first things when I met you. You're like, wow, your alignment's out. I'm like, what's that? And you explained it to me. And then and then I'm like, and then it was a process of undoing the old compensatory movements and dialing up your efficient PMTS, primary movements teaching system movements, the 5 essentials, and we went from there. So so for those that are watching this, we wanted to give you a breakdown and an insight into, I guess, Harold's background, teaching system, where it's come from, that it's biomechanically based, and it's all based on efficiency, because when you're skiing at the World Cup level, you have to be efficient. So that Harold's brought that back to even learning skiing, in a direct parallel method, in the green terrain, and so that's the system. And because Harold's got the complete system, it's always about clarity. So you always know what to work on, because until you're clear on what to work on, you can't tell, or the coach can't give accurate feedback, because it needs to be super clear. And so we'll have a Q&A in the academy where we've got, a dozen or so videos of members are posting, right? And Harold's just like throwing this sim out, right? And the reason being because they're already doing the work in the academy, so they understand the 5 essentials, and Harold will break it down if need be. But you're in the business of just handing out sims, aren't you?
Well, the academy, I just want to give a footnote on the academy, because we started the academy because, for the last 20 years, our ski camps, the Harb ski system ski camps that we have every season, fill up in 24 hours. I mean, when we put our schedule online on our website, which is harbskisystems.com, usually at the end of April or beginning of May, depending on when the last camp was, those camps for the whole season, 8 camps, fill up in 24 hours. And we carry about 30 to 35 people per camp, because we only use high quality, highly trained coaches that we've trained, hand-picked. And so these people are all like Top Gun. They're the best of the best. You're not going to find a better lesson anywhere in the world than from this hand-picked Top Gun group we have that coach for us. But wait, what are you going to do if you can't get into the camp? No way, right? So, well, if you do contact us, we'll give you a heads up on when the schedule comes out.
Yeah, there's a wait list.
You call our shop,
Yep.
or our number and ask. But for those who don't get in and it's too late and they want it right away, the academy. And our campers are now in the academy. Why? Because they're staying on the process. They're keeping their minds going. They're keeping fresh. And that's what we do in the academy twice a week. We keep people fresh and giving them approaches and showing them what movements there are, and then doing analysis online on the internet. And there's no teaching system around that can do that on the internet like we do.
Yeah, I mean, clarity leads to power. So the more clear you are on what you need to work on, the simpler the system is, and it's easier also to then give feedback, because you taught me when I was coaching, we would, before the student skied down the hill, we would point out their sim, establish their sim, they would demonstrate their sim before they took off, then they would ski down, then we would, as coach, we would confirm that they was, what did they focus on when they ski down, because sometimes you just get distracted, right, and you forget. So then if they had confirmed that, yes, they did focus on their sim, then we would give them feedback on that, and that closes the loop, and then it's a continuation of learning.
When we do video, we always tell our students is, what one thing are you going to show us, what you're going to want to see on video that you're working on, to make sure you're getting what you're working on. And if you don't get it completely, we have the video to give you feedback about how to fix it beyond where you missed it, and it just builds. It's just effective ski teaching. That's all it is. It's effective. And it works, and it makes changes. It's not, you're not just running over the same process over and over again and not getting anywhere. It's too valid to not work.
And the sim for me, like that, when you taught me about that, I'm like, oh great, now I've got something that I can actually coach and work on and focus on and help the student do that. And also, as coach, because I'm really clear, you become a better coach at helping them break through that sim, right, or achieve that sim. And as a student, they get clearer because their mind-body connection strengthens. And
Well,
then
just some basic things that people get wrong because they were taught wrong, right? They're taught
right,
wrong.
yeah,
One of the things is in a ski turn, after you've made the bottom part of the turn come through where you're getting a lot of speed control, how to get out of that turn is so important, because if you don't know how to get out of it, it's going to take a while to figure out how to make the next one, and then you go across the hill too far. So most people, all people who go to ski lessons, are taught to push off the old stance foot or balancing foot to get out of the turn, and they're not even getting out of the turn. That's not a release. That's an increase of pressure. It's not even getting out of the turn. It's moving your body back up the hill, so you're fighting the slope, right? That's one thing we changed right away. We say, get off that outside ski, bend the leg, roll the foot over while the leg is moving off the ground, and tip your lower body so that you're right away into another turn. That's a game changer. And nobody, ski teaching doesn't do that. Regular ski, traditional ski teaching doesn't teach that. They teach you to stomp harder. Stomping harder doesn't get you anywhere. The other thing is, just so some people will go, well, why are you so different? How can you say you're different from everybody else when everybody who's any good looks like they ski the same? Well, that's because you don't understand the movements. You're not watching them. We break that down in the academy. We show you, people are supposed to be experts. We show you where they're going wrong. And if you're at a lower level and not as athletic as that person, you're not going anywhere skiing with those methods. Even though this guy is really, energetic, he's very flashy, he's very quick, but he's doing it wrong, and he's working 10 times harder than he needs to work to get the same, better results. Not the same, better results. You can work less and get better results. And the other thing that we teach, just give another example, is all ski instruction is based on standing up to get forward, moving your hips forward, right? And we all know that in skiing, you want to stay forward on your ski, especially at the top of a new turn. You don't want your skis running away from you, because you get back, the skis run away, and then you can't catch up to them, right? So we teach pulling the feet back instead of raising your center mass or your body to try to get forward. That's a big movement, and it takes too long. It takes too long to get there. All you have to do is, when you release the foot, pull the foot back, and all of a sudden you're slowing your feet down and your upper body goes forward. This is so rudimentary stuff, and regular ski teaching doesn't do that.
We might wrap it up with one more thought. As you were saying that, we caught up with Eric Slopey in the academy, and he talked about some time that he worked with you. You gave him a schmim, and then I'm telling your story for you, right? But then he went away and said, this is going to elevate my skiing. And he decided to do 10,000 turns working on that one schmim.
Yep.
And then what happened after that, Harold?
Well, with Eric, we started on working with his boots, because he's got very, very rigid feet. So we had to do some things in his boots to make him able to tip his feet more and his ankles. So that was the first step. And then I started skiing with him, and I went to a couple of training camps with him. And then we worked out some exercises, and he started doing the
And
exercise.
because he's such a champion that he is, he didn't go, oh, thanks, Harold. He goes, I'm going to do 10,000 turns until I get this right. Like, he literally.
Well, he was on an interview here with us, and he even said that, exactly that.
Yeah.
He said, when Harold said, your counterbalance or whatever it was we were working on, I went out and did that exercise 10,000 times till it got it perfect.
Yeah, he went separate.
And he's a bronze medalist at World Championships and was third overall in the overall GS championship. Beat out Herman Meyer for the World Cup finals. So he was a top World Cup skier.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. You just need to be clear on the next step. And we wanted to bring this video out there. It's hard for us to explain it in like 5 minutes, because there's a lot of depth and moving parts to this, but in the overall game, it's pretty simple. It's like, where are you? What's your sim? Are you performing your sim? If yes, keep going, right? And then we'll give you another sim. If not, we'll figure out another way to elevate that sim. And once that's at a 10 out of 10, we'll pick on the next, we'll pick out the next one, and we move from there.
Well, I would just tell people who are watching, that the tips online are virtually useless because this the tips don't know, and the people who are giving you the tips, they don't know what you're doing before that, how you evolved to that point, what the steps are to get you further. They don't know that. They're just giving you a tip. And when you start to see what is involved in doing this correctly and watching your skiing and understanding where you came from and what movements brought you to that point, you can't just throw out one. You have to take the person back to the original spot where that went wrong and then build it up from there with a SMIM that you're talking about. And then they go, oh my gosh, yeah, I've been doing this backwards the whole time. And it's ingrained in my head. And so I've got to really focus. That's why Eric Schlope did 20,000 or 10,000 moves of the same, because the previous movements were also, embedded.
Ingrained. Yeah. Because your brain's designed to keep you comfortable. So once it learns something, it doesn't want to give it up. So that's why this is so helpful, your teaching system. And that's why we want to kind of bring it out into the light, because we know what we're doing. We know the results that we're getting. But for the wider community, if you're stuck, there probably is a better way. And so Harold's been literally helping skiers break through to the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level, because he's worked with athletes where he worked with them for years, not one-on-one, not a few sessions, right? And his campers come back year after year because of that. And now in the academy, we have that for the on-snow section. But then we've got a whole, which we might talk about on another show, we've got a whole dryland program where you can build the SMIM before you even get to the snow. And on it goes, and also the Ski Fit program, which is
Well, our Ski Fit program could be an app by itself. It's so packed with information, and
Yeah.
it's ski specific. It is not just a regular exercise program or weight training or physical development program. It is ski specific, and we use all kinds of tools and a lot of it you're doing in ski boots on dry land. So no, there's a whole other way to approach your movements off season. And in the academy, we had growth during the off season, which is amazing because it's a ski app, but we're building skiers when there's no skiing.
Yeah, it's a year-round commitment. So it fills in the gap from camps. If you can get to camp, sold out often, but you can wait list. But if you can get to camp, that's great. For the other 51 weeks of the year, we have the academy. So thank you to Harold. We hope that's given you some insight and maybe some background as to if you are feeling like you've plateaued or even going backwards like I was and Scotty and Marty, we kind of were. We were like, why are we 14 seconds off the pace with our ski racing? And then we met Harold and we're like, oh, because we haven't built these fine movements and understanding. And once we did that, our times came down, and we see that across the board.
Just watch the videos we've put up, and if you, that's what I would advise people do, and do the three session trial.
Yeah, true.
That are free, and that you can learn about what we're doing and see the difference. It's not comparable. The difference is so astounding.
That's a really good point. I'll put a little thing across the bottom of the screen, free part training. I'll put it up again now as a reminder, because we literally break down, an introduction to Harold's system, an introduction to the alignment, and then an introduction to how you put it all together on snow. I'd forgotten we'd done that. So good reminder, Harold. Well played. World's #1 ski coach. We say that all the time in the academy. I figured I'd throw it in at the end because if you've stayed this long, congratulations. You're probably someone that's going to do well inside the academy. And thank you, Harold. We'll catch you at the next one.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good ski year.